So we are diving into a song that has just completely redefined what modern chart longevity even means.
It really has.
I mean, if you haven't heard it, you've somehow managed to avoid, I don't know, every social media platform, every radio station,
Every human conversation?
right, for the last year and a half. We are, of course, talking about Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. It dropped way back in May 2024, and it just will not leave.
It refuses to go.
And it's November 2025 right now, and this thing is still one of the biggest songs on the planet.
It's a true anomaly. I mean,
Yeah.
in today's streaming world, songs they explode, they peak in a few weeks, and then they start to fade out.
Yeah, replaced by the next viral sound.
Exactly. Birds of a Feather didn't just peak, it set up camp. It's established this multi-year dominance. The engagement level is something we just haven't seen for contemporary pop track in years.
So our mission today, based on this amazing collection of sources you all shared with us, is to really dissect the anatomy of this song's success. We want to understand that perfect confluence of emotional vulnerability, those engineered viral trends, and just pure media saturation that fueled this whole thing.
And I think we have to start by just framing the achievement, because when you look at the industry awards on top of the raw data, it's so clear this isn't just another hit song.
No.
It became her longest-running chart success.
Yeah.
And you could argue it's one of the defining emotional soundtracks of the 2020s so far. We really need to look at the hard data to get the scale of it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start with the sheer scale. Looking at the scorecard right now, as of November 21st, 2025,
18 months later.
nearly 18 months later, it is still sitting at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. I mean, that's not a comeback, that's residency.
It's a long residency. The data shows it has spent, 33 total weeks inside the top 10? That kind of presence, it makes the song an institution for a whole generation.
And it's global, too.
Oh, completely. It's still
Yeah.
number 2 on the global Spotify top 10. This is just total worldwide cultural penetration.
But the streaming figures, that's where my mind really starts to boggle. The track has over 2.6 billion Spotify streams. But I think the most telling stat, the one that shows that initial frenzy, is the pace.
Right.
It was the fastest song by a female artist to ever hit the 2 billion stream mark. Ever.
And that pace, it tells you it's not casual listening. It means repeat listens, intense loyalty. People weren't just hearing it once,
No, they were adding it to their wedding playlist, their workout playlists.
embedding it in their daily lives immediately. And that engagement, it translated visually, too. We're talking over 650 million views on YouTube. The visual part resonated just as powerfully.
And, all that fan consumption, it eventually has to translate into industry validation. It wasn't just some beloved earworm. It swept the major awards.
Absolutely. The analysts we looked at, they all pointed out it's one of those rare tracks to win both Song of the Year and Best Pop Solo Performance at the 2025 Grammys.
Which is huge.
It is, because usually those awards go to songs that define the past year. This song won them while it was still actively defining the current year.
Sure.
That says everything about its relevance long after its release cycle supposedly ended.
So the real question isn't just how it got so massive.
No.
It's why. Why did it connect so deeply that people couldn't let it go for almost 2 years? What's the secret ingredient?
Well, the secret ingredient is its emotional core. It became the ultimate, unwavering, stick-by-me-forever anthem. And that, right there, is the cornerstone of its success. It taps into this deep, universal human need for certainty.
The lyrics. They hit this really specific, almost paradoxical sweet spot. It's romantic, of course, but it's mixed with this intensity it's almost obsessive. You hear lines like, I want you to stay till I'm in the grave. I mean, that is a huge statement. It's so much heavier than typical pop lyrics.
It totally throws out that casual, temporary language that's everywhere in music today. That repeated phrase, birds of a feather, birds of a feather. It isn't just a cute line. It signifies something unbreakable.
An intrinsic pairing.
Exactly. That intensity is what people grabbed onto.
And you could see it in the real world almost immediately. The sources all noted that within weeks, it was the go-to soundtrack for these huge life moments.
Oh, yeah. We saw that immediate spike in usage for wedding proposals, for these super emotional couple TikToks, tributes to best friend.
People weren't just listening to it.
No. They were using it to perform and celebrate and really to solidify their most important bonds. The song became synonymous with permanence.
But that brings us to that fascinating, maybe slightly darker ambiguity that the source material raised. We have to get into that a little bit.
Right.
Is this just a simple, sweet love song, or is there a layer of Well, stalkery in a cute way
Yeah.
that actually adds to its appeal.
And I think that duality is its genius.
Mm.
I really do. If the song was just pure sugar, just a simple sweet declaration, I don't think it would have the same staying power.
It'd be disposable.
It would be. That little edge of intensity, that till I'm in the grave commitment, it stops it from being forgettable top. It gives it that essential Billie Eilish grit.
It gives you something to chew on. You can hear it as a beautiful wedding song, or you can hear it as this slightly unsettling, totally devoted pledge. That complexity means the song can age with you.
Precisely. A song that gives you both that universal feeling and that little bit of unsettling depth is almost always the one that stays relevant. It serves different emotional needs at the same time.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. Let's talk about the engine that kept this thing physically on the charts, the viral mechanics.
This is where that emotional core meets perfect platform execution. The sources lay out how one very specific TikTok trend was like a constant injection of chart life for the song.
And that trend was the I'll love you till the day that I die trend. It took off in June 2024, right when the initial album hype might have been starting to level off.
And the mechanism was so specific, which is always the sign of a great trend. People would lip sync the bridge of the song while, pointing the camera at someone or something important.
A partner, a pet.
A pet, yeah, or even like an old stuffed animal.
And then came the hook. They'd do this dramatic physical act, like a sudden fall or a jump right on that last line, till the day that I die. It was this perfect mix of high emotion and kind of silly theatrical humor.
That physical punchline made it so watchable and so easy to copy. It wasn't just a sound, it was a whole performance template.
And the impact was just enormous.
Oh, huge. It generated over 8 million videos. So this user-generated content machine was basically free promotion, constantly pushing streams back up and renewing its spot in the top 10 all year long.
But even that viral boost wouldn't have been enough without the song's massive media dominance, which brings us to its radio and streaming synthesis.
The analysts we looked at all said this is one of the very rare modern songs that dominated 3 different spaces at once: pop radio, alternative radio, and all the streaming services.
Which made it completely inescapable. It didn't matter if you listened to the radio in your car or if you only use Spotify, you were going to hear it.
Exactly. Pop stations couldn't ignore the streaming numbers, and the alt stations couldn't ignore the fact that it's, a Billie Eilish song.
Right.
So the result was, by mid-2025, it had spent more weeks at #1 on the Hot 100 than any other song released in 2024. That three-pronged attack is what you need for long-term survival now.
But that wasn't the only other engine. We also have to talk about the live magic, right? How her performances turned this track into an emotional touchstone every time she sang it.
Yeah, live moments are huge conversion points. They turn casual listeners into dedicated fans, and they create these massive streaming spikes. And Birds of a Feather became an instant tearjerker live.
The sources call out a couple specific ones. That acoustic version she did on SNL really early on, stripping it down, just highlighted the vulnerability in the lyrics.
And then, of course, the 2025 Grammys performance. Just her and Phineas on the piano, reducing the song to its absolute emotional core. That intimacy, it makes you stop and really listen again.
And we can actually quantify that impact. That one Grammy performance added a staggering 25 million streams in the week that followed.
Wow.
Which just shows you how vital those live moments are to keeping a song relevant for over a year and a half.
So if we just step back for a second, we have to look at the cultural context of 2025. Why did this message feel so, refreshing, almost rebellious when it landed?
The social landscape around it is definitely key. The sources describe this era as being dominated by, casual relationships, situationships, ghosting.
Non-commitment.
Right, emotional distance had become the norm.
And then into all of that drops this song, this unapologetic, intense declaration of permanence. It became the soundtrack for people choosing to commit. It basically filled a cultural void.
And not just committing to a partner, it was committing to friends, to goals, even committing to yourself. The song was like an antidote to that feeling of emotional transience. It gave people certainty in a very uncertain time.
And that leads us to maybe the most surprising part of the source material, the origin story, which shows how close this cultural touchstone came to never existing at all.
This is the real aha moment. Billie actually wrote the song back in 2021.
When she was 19.
She was just 19. It just sat there for years before the Hate Me Hard and Soft album was even a thing.
It's incredible to think about. And she almost left it off the album. The decision to include it was like a last-minute gut feeling.
Can you imagine the cultural void if she'd gone the other way? And it just speaks to the song's quality that her brother, her creative partner, Phineas, later said publicly that Birds of a Feather is his favorite song they've ever made.
Oh,
That endorsement, plus the fact that it was almost cut, is just fascinating.
it really connects all the dots. The deep, sincere, emotional core, the part Phineas loved, combined with the perfect viral mechanics, the media ubiquity, and those powerful live moments.
As the analyst concluded, this song really is the 2024-2025 version of those other emotional juggernauts that just define a period of time, like a someone you loved or driver's license. It tapped into something truly foundational.
Yeah, based on this whole deep dive, the recipe for chart longevity now seems pretty clear. You need that deep, universal emotional appeal that speaks to a real cultural need. Then you combine it with targeted viral trends, and you reinforce it all with powerful stream-boosting live moments.
And thinking about that origin story, that razor thin margin between it being a global phenomenon and just being left on the cutting room floor, it raises a really interesting question for you to think about.
Hmm.
Given how necessary this song felt, how often do we miss out on a defining piece of art because the creator almost cut it? What other almost left off tracks or films might have shaped our culture in ways we'll just never know?
That really highlights the fragile nature of creativity, doesn't it?
Hmm.
And the need to trust those last-minute, risky gut decisions.
It's a wonderful thought to leave with. Thank you for sharing these sources and letting us take this deep dive into why Birds of a Feather truly became eternal.